GM.
Good morning, Karen. How are you?
I'm good. I am just being, just like great. Just in Hong Kong. It's a great morning. How's everybody? I hope you're doing well. You get your coffee ready.
Yes, we got their coffee ready. I'm GMing from San Francisco. It's a beautiful early evening here, and we have a really great show for you tonight. As you probably know, we've got People Pleaser in the house today. A whole show devoted to Shibuya.xyz and, of course, the House of Lee. All the Bruce Lee fans are going to be out in full force today.
Yep. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the show. And if you don't know the show, the ABC of the GM show is Asia focused, builder friendly, and cool vibes only. And we're going to have a lot to talk about today and how it's going to all connect to Web3. Yeah.
Great. And before we begin, let's hear a quick word from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
Thanks, Sir David Edinburgh. Okay, before we begin, we want to make sure that everyone knows that the show is streamed live every Thursday, 9 a.m. Hong Kong time and 10 a.m. Tokyo and Seoul, Wednesday evening for 6 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you can listen on Twitter Spaces, you can also do it on YouTube and Twitch live. So if you can't make it to the live stream, you can also catch the recordings on YouTube, or if you want to walk the dog or something while listening to us, you can get on podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and we use AI to enhance the sound for you. So that's something else. We think the GM show has some great info and interviews. Like, you want to make sure you can enjoy it wherever, whatever platform you like. So that's hopefully you guys can share, like, and share it to your friends.
Yep. So that's amazing. We're on so many different platforms so that everybody can listen to this stuff. We also wanted to shout out to some people who've been doing a great job of summarizing the GM show. So if you don't want to listen to it or watch it or whatever, there's great tweet threads created by some of the people that listen to the show. I want to shout out to OX Gringo, who does a great job of screen capping and kind of summarizing tweet threads that usually the next day of what the show's about, as well as Captain Rafa Crypto. These two people have been doing a great job and some fantastic tweet threads. So definitely check them out. We'll link them in the show notes later. But we like to have. We also want to make sure that you know there's a Twitter community for the GM show that you can post comments about the show and suggest guests and things that you want us to talk about. So put it in there. Also, I just saw today he tagged both of us. Puke Rainbow posted a list of the ultimate Web3 Spaces guides. And we're on that list alongside some of our friends and other shows that we're fans of, like the Rug Radio Show and the NFT Morning Show. So definitely check that out. All right.
Awesome.
So Karen, let's get the show rolling. But first, who is this week's show sponsor?
Well, it's not sponsored. It's not sponsored by 11 Labs.
Is not sponsored by 11 Labs. We are an AI voice research lab and AI voice generator. Generate high-quality spoken audio in any voice, style, and language with the most powerful AI speech tool. You can make me say anything you want. Thank you for generating my voice.
Yeah, so thank you, 11 Labs, because we have been using your service, and it's been a great experience. So thank you.
Yeah, right. Now everybody knows the secret of how all these movie stars come on the show.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it then. Karen, what is your earliest memory of Bruce Lee?
I think it's the one that when I was little, I would hear him fighting with like this weird sound. He's like ah, doing all
Yeah.
these like sound, and him wearing that yellow and black stripe overalls. It's like one of the best memories I've had of him.
Wow, it's
Obviously,
amazing.
I wasn't born in you know,
Not many
that
of us
era.
were. Yeah, a lot of it, if we were probably babies and really didn't watch kung fu movies. But if you could imagine Enter the Dragon, his last movie and the one that was shot in Hollywood, this year is 50 years old. It came out in 1973. I did all this Twitter research and I posted on my Twitter because I just thought it was fascinating. Enter the Dragon was Bruce Lee's last movie. It was in English. It was filmed in Hong Kong, and it was basically, he shortly died after that movie before it even came out, so he didn't get to see the success of that film. But every year he made, I think, 5 or 6 movies, low budget, but made a huge box office, and every year they got more and more. And Enter the Dragon, actually, they were doing a look at the box office for that movie globally. If you convert that money that it made in 1973 to today, it made $2 billion. All right. That
Gee,
Enter the Dragon movie made more than the first Avengers movie. It's crazy. And it's around it would have been in the top 10 of all time movies if it was released today. So the movie was highly influential. I remember seeing him as a kid because my dad's from Hong Kong, so he of course took us to see Bruce Lee movies when we were little kids. Probably these are R-rated movies, right? There's a lot of
yeah,
blood and a lot of fighting going on, but obviously, I think any Chinese man would take his kids to see these movies at a young age because it was more than just a film, right? It was a movement, and it's the first time an Asian star, I guess, at this level, international fame, and also how big martial arts became. As we all know, I'm a big comic book fan, right? And so, I don't know if people really understand how influential Bruce Lee was, but you know, he was so popular, and he died, so there was no new films coming out. They even made comic books of him, but they also made Marvel made their own version of Bruce Lee, right? It was called The
yeah,
Master of Kung Fu, and I think everybody today knows him better as Shang-Chi, right? Which was played by
yeah.
Simu Liu, the movie from the Disney Marvel films, right? So that character was actually basically created because of Bruce Lee and his popularity. They wanted to have something they could put in the comic book and fight with Spider-Man. That character is still around today, which is incredible. Um,
That's
so I really
amazing.
recommend. I don't know if people have seen this movie, but it came out in the '90s. It's called Dragon: The Bruce Lee Story. It starred an actor. It was an American film. It was directed by the guy who directed the first Fast and the Furious, and it starred a guy named Jason Scott Lee. He was not related to Bruce Lee, but I thought it was a good movie. It was based on a book on the memoirs of Bruce Lee's widow, and it was pretty good. So I definitely recommend checking that out. But if you haven't seen the movie, you really have to see it, and it's a great time to see it because now, this past weekend, it's starting to hit cinemas again. The 50th anniversary edition of Enter the Dragon is out in a 4K remaster, and so you can. I watched it already. It is like it's a brand new movie, right? I think we played the trailer on the show a couple of weeks ago, right? And we're looking at it going,
Yeah,
wow. The editing was so cool for the new trailer, and it's super crisp. Like you watch the original one, it's obviously it's a 50-year-old film, right? But it's all fixed up. It looks great, and it was amazing to see they put the House of Lee trailer attached to it as well. So this is a very exciting time if you're a Bruce Lee fan, and so I think this is why we're going to introduce our guest today. Her real name is Emily Yang, but probably everybody knows her as People Pleaser. I did a whole interview with her on her journey to Web3 a couple of months ago, which I'll put on the podcast in the show notes. But she's done a bunch of talks already about her secret origin, so definitely check those out. She started her career as a visual effects artist, right? She worked on movies like Batman v Superman, and she also worked at Blizzard, and she did all this kind of cool stuff. And but she was looking for a job, and she got a job offer, I think, just before the pandemic or just at the beginning of the pandemic from Apple to work as a digital artist role. But when that hit, when the pandemic struck, I guess that job was the job offer was rescinded, and that means she didn't have a job. So she was not working for a year, right? So and she was living in New York, and she had to take unemployment insurance to pay for her rent. It was really it's like the J.K. Rowling story where she's living in a car
yeah.
writing Harry Potter, right?
In the
Um,
cafe. Yeah.
yeah, in the cafe, right? And so what happens next is really a classic story of amazing talent meeting really truly a lightning in a bottle moment in time with the takeoff of NFTs and things like that, right? So we'll bring them on, and she can tell us more about the whole journey. But she's now known as people pleaser, a multidisciplinary artist. Her work centers around the ideas of storytelling. So this is the main part she's talking about. Obviously, she's a huge inspiration from anime, old cartoons, Chinese and Japanese art. She helped inspire the formation of the Pleaser DAO. She's had her art gracing the cover of Fortune magazine, Vogue magazine. She's worked with Steve Aoki. She's sold her work at Sotheby's. She was in the Forbes 30 under 30. She's done all this great kind of stuff, and she's also raised funding for her company. It's a new creator platform called Shibuya from A16Z. So it's a big, big company. And of course, I'm sure everybody here has already seen the White Rabbit videos, anime that's on TV, on the internet now. You can see those. But what we're going to talk about today is the launch of the new House of Lee. So just this weekend, the House of Lee trailer hit the internets, and I think everybody's very excited about it. I saw amazing feedback on what we've seen so far. And what it sounds like, we'll get her to explain the story to us, but it sounds very, very cool. And I see all the Hollywood magazines are reporting about it as well. So I guess let's just bring her on to the show. Everybody, please welcome the one and only Emily Yang, also known as People Pleaser.
Woohoo!
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
That's a great intro. Hi, Emily.
Hi, guys. Wow, I'm so impressed with that intro. This production value is over the roof.
Well, your anime stuff is just incredible, too. We're very impressed. We got to talk about how you make all that stuff. It's just so cool. But go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, like, so we heard that. I just want to congratulations to your videos, and like the Lost video of Lincoln Park. It's going to be rewarded. Well, it's going to be in the video award show. So video music awards. So congrats on that. So it's up against Foo Fighters and Red Hot Chili Peppers. So how exciting is that?
Super exciting. I think we're just happy to even have been nominated. It was a complete surprise, honestly. I just got a text from my manager that day, who got a text from Linkin Park's manager, and they were like, Lost got nominated for a VMA. So it was totally out of left field and a pleasant surprise. So, whether or not we win would just be the cherry on top. But we should go vote for it every day. You can vote every day on the MTV website until September 12th. But either way, we're very happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a huge thing, like for people that are also outside of Web3, like you're basically on both worlds, right? So like, what's that like? How can balance that two worlds?
I think it's all about just staying true to your art. I think whether you're talking about Web3 or outside in the mainstream or the zeitgeist, what kind of keeps me grounded or I use as a compass is just things that I think are cool, that I feel are worth putting out into the world. And it doesn't matter if your belief is in crypto or if you're not in crypto. I think that everyone enjoys dope content. And that's kind of always been my North Star ever since entering the space, even dating back to when I was working in visual effects. And, obviously goes the same for my partner, Mache. And that's something we see eye to eye on, is just forever delivering cool stuff for people to see.
That's amazing. So what's the biggest learning for you, like towards like, working on like Web 2 stuff, but also like going into Web 3? Like, what's that story from of you going into Web 3?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of shorter version is just that I've been working in visual effects for about 6 years, and just as Casey so eloquently put before, I worked at several visual effects studios, and then also at Blizzard on the cinematics team, and then uh, around the end of 2019, my contract came to an end, and I was looking for a new job for a few months, and then I got a job offer at Apple, which then got rescinded. And then the pandemic happened. I guess it got rescinded because the pandemic happened. And then so I ended up, yeah, just looking for a job for over a year after. And, it was during this time that I created this Instagram account with the handle People Pleaser, really as a means to just sort of find purpose for myself. It's a form of self expression. So while I was, waiting in between job interviews to hear back. I obviously didn't feel like I had a purpose in life. And then so I started making art just for the sake of it, and also to feel like I can pass time faster and not like I was wasting my life away. And then after some time, I think this was about when DeFi summer started happening. It was the summer of 2020. I was, obviously stressed about money, looking for alternative ways to make ends meet. And then this is when I, really sort of dove into DeFi originally as a means of investment. But when I was browsing around the space, I realized there's actually quite probably a big opportunity here for me to insert my artistic skill set and maybe, do some commission jobs and earn money in return. And then so I started making these DeFi marketing animations that I think the community really enjoyed. And often are inspired heavily by whether it's like anime or Japanese commercials. I like to make them a little bit quirky, and then slowly I built up an audience of loyal crypto degens, I guess. And then when sort of NFTs really took off, then I had my really big first NFT auction, which was the Uniswap V3 animation. And then sort of the rest is history.
It is
Wow.
amazing. What a history. What a story. I just tell you, it's like a lightning in a bottle moment. Like you just can't replicate something like that. It was just amazing.
You know
Um,
what's funny is, I think that what I realized after everything is that people really love the rags to riches story,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
especially in North America. I don't think I had ever intended to be that way, so
Nobody wants to have it that
this
way.
is yeah, I think this is something that I don't share as often, but, actually back then, so it was, when I did the Fortune cover, that they published an op-ed, which is, like a little article that I got to write myself,
Yeah.
and publish on Fortune. And then, because when I started doing the DeFi or started working in DeFi, I was still unemployed at the time, and it was obviously a huge insecurity of mine that I was unemployed. I think, people, especially in the Web3 space, are so multi-talented. Like there's like people who are working full-time jobs at Google, and then they're just doing crypto on the side
Right.
for fun, and or they're coming from like, really well-known VC firm or finance. And me being totally unemployed, I at the time obviously was very, very insecure about this. And I was worried that people in crypto wouldn't even want to work with me if they knew that I didn't have a real job. And then so around the time, I think, any sort of freelance job that I would get, I was also making these white lies, like pretending that I still had a normal job at Blizzard. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm working at Blizzard. This is just like my side thing. But really, this whole entire time I was unemployed. And then so, after I built up my sort of like portfolio, and then the Uniswap thing happened, and then I started doing the Fortune cover, it was around this time that I felt like I had finally sort of achieved enough or proved enough to myself that I don't need to rely on the fact that I have a job to sort of bring value to myself. And so it was when I was publishing this op-ed with Fortune, it was really sort of just like a mini confession, or I just wanted to get this weight off of my shoulders, really just to be like, I actually was not employed this whole time. Like I didn't have a job and this is what happened. So what was more of like a confession due to my own insecurities, then I think people read it and, saw it more of like a rags to riches story. And then it became super inspiring. So it was really sort of like a happy accident. But
Yeah.
I totally did not do that on purpose. But, the outcome was good. So as long as it inspires people, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super inspiring.
Yeah. And also during the pandemic too, right? Like all these forces at the same time. I mean, I think this definitely this last couple of years will definitely go in a history book as some of the most craziest times as well, right? Okay, so let's go into before we get into Bruce Lee stuff though. We want to talk about Shibuya, right? So can you like quickly figure out how do you get from Fortune cover magazines and Vogue cover magazines to getting to launch Shibuya? How do you say your co-founder's name? I can never pronounce it.
It's Maciej Kuciara, so you
Machi.
spell that as Maciej,
Yeah,
and his last name is Kuciara. And
that's
anybody who has had worked in visual effects before, or just like in 3D animation, probably has heard of him. He's
mhm.
quite prolific and very well known in the industry. He's an absolute legend and amazing to work with. So yeah, I mean, the story of Shibuya really came when, after all this like NFT stuff, NFT madness was happening, I was sort of trying to figure out my purpose in life, or even as an artist. I feel like everything happened so quickly, and then suddenly, I was getting, yeah, like offers to sell art with like Christie's, Sotheby's, and just I think around this time I kind of slowed down and just was trying to understand what really, my purpose was as an artist. And I think landed on the conclusion that I don't think I want to go down the path of, say like a Beeple, or, just to sort of, more focus on selling art as a medium. That's not really my background. And so I think ever since college, my interests always sort of lied more within like storytelling, and definitely with like longer form content. And obviously I was working on like movies before, and even though I wasn't on the storytelling side, but that really was sort of the main motivation. And then so that's sort of what sort of brought me back to it. Was I was thinking, well, NFTs at the time were either just sort of being sold as individual art pieces, for like high prices, or people were sort of selling them as collections, as like NFT, PFP projects and things like that. And then I didn't feel that neither of those project types really sort of called out to me. And then so I was thinking about, what does it mean to bring longer form storytelling back, to fuse with Web3 technology, or like this space. And obviously didn't feel right to just be making a movie and then trying to sell that as an NFT. And then so, in sort of thinking about this more, then I got inspired by Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which is the choose your own adventure episode. And then, really all of my art sort of centers around telling like the story of crypto, but to a more mainstream audience. This is obviously on the Fortune cover, but also with the Vogue cover that I did too. The imagery always speaks, that has like a secondary message that, for the Vogue one was really during the time where people were kind of challenging what their physical selves were, and then looking at their digital representation online. And so I was like, what is sort of the extension of that, would be making a longer form media that tells this story of going down the crypto rabbit hole. And around this time, Miche and I had connected, and then we started riffing on, sort of like the first rendition of what would be Shibuya. Really, we started jamming on the concept of White Rabbit as a film or an anime at first, and what like kind of story we don't wanted to tell around it. And then, like I said, with Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, I feel was more the inspiration behind the choose your own adventure, and using that as like an interactive mechanic so that we can change the relationship between the medium and the audience from like a very passive one to a more active one where they're more invested or they feel more involved and can see, every step along the way how this story is being created. And obviously, with the efficiency of the blockchain, it's great for being able to get funding, either through selling NFTs to sort of fund the production of this animation, which obviously is costly and, time consuming. And so all of this kind of came together. We started working on White Rabbit. It was just the two of us in the beginning. But then we started working with, our talented technical co-founders who then worked on like the technical components. And then since we were making these like interactive tools, we were like, why don't we just make it, not just standalone for White Rabbit, but, can be accessible through up to other creators or other projects as well. And so that's kind of how Shibuya, the platform, came to be. And really our mission here is just that Miche and I, both having had this background working in Hollywood and visual effects, we understand there's so many sort of difficult obstacles that get in the way of trying to get any project off the ground. I think getting traditional funding is really, really difficult, especially within Hollywood. And so, with this new platform that is NFTs, and if you can, sort of more like self-fund your projects, then that opens so many new doors. And we really want to, the future that we believe in is that, one that is more like that for independent creators, so that, instead of getting like all of the big Hollywood franchises, I think are really risk averse. Like they don't like to take risks. So that's why we're getting, like, I don't know, like a bunch of like live action remakes of old IPs, or, I always say there's like, a dozen Avengers movies. We have like Fast and Furious 10 now. I think they're just kind of all entered this like machine, like corporate machine where they just keep pumping out these things. And independent creators have less of an opportunity to take risks making brand new IP. And so, what we believe in is sort of creating this ecosystem where it can be more accessible for people to get their projects off the ground and not necessarily need to have those connections through Hollywood or whatever to get something made. And so White Rabbit is sort of like a giant experiment that we started with, which is, fingers crossed, going well so far. It's definitely it's been interesting to see the creation of this film, which isn't even complete yet, but people who are interested in watching it, it's not as much as it's completed. It is on our website and free for people to watch. But also just the spreading of this IP before it's even completed. So, obviously from the Linkin Park Lost music video to, the Vogue magazine is, it's just been interesting seeing people know about this anime that's still, in the middle of being made.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the White Rabbit itself, right? So what happens is your community then buys a producer pass, and then they are included, like you said in the Bandersnatch example, they're kind of included in decision makings of the show. So I guess you guys have like a bit of a roadmap of where you want the story to go, but you don't know where they're going to go specifically. You don't know the name of the character, right? I think you even gave the community a chance to name the character or vote on the name of the character. So it's highly interactive. You release short pieces all the time, so that I guess that gives you enough time to to make the next piece and stuff like that. But maybe talk a little bit about why this approach, and is this like the Web3 element is like where you're including the community more, or does it take away? I've asked this question to guests who do this stuff before, like have this where the community really does come involved, but how much of it is the community and how much of it is your vision in the project, in the creative project?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fine line and, a delicate balance, but we definitely noticed that if you let the community completely run with a project, it's probably not going to go anywhere. And I actually think that ultimately that's not what most people want anyway. And so I think they want the creators to still do the bulk of the work. And then, you can sort of like spoon feed them content, but also it's kind of like just asking their opinions, right? You make something and then you show them, you're like, what do you think? And then we think that this will also transform the process of creating these things as well. Because I feel like with Hollywood, so much of content is sort of made in a black box. And then there's like mysterious producers and other people who are very opinionated working in a room, and then they make all these decisions, and then they come out when the whole thing is done, and tens of millions of dollars have been spent, and then they're like, do you guys like it? And then it's hit or miss, right? People are
Right.
usually like, this
Right.
sucks, or I love
Yeah.
this. And why does it have to be that way, right? This is an experiment of like, what if we just open that box and let people see what is actually happening, or like what is going on, and maybe their opinions can actually be valuable. And so it's more, of a back and forth process. And when you go on our White Rabbit show page on the Shibuya website, you can see the timeline that we have documented, where from the sort of like the creation to what kind of votes we've held, from naming the main character to casting a cameo character, from the Azuki community to obviously voting within each chapter about like what path we should go down. And then, diving deeper is within our Discord. People express their opinions there as well. That's always being taken account for. And so I think this just completely transforms the relationship that the creator has with their community. And then you're kind of bootstrapping this initial cohort of super fans too, who are so invested, not just, not necessarily on a financial level, but more on like an attention level. We
Yeah.
really truly believe in the attention economy. And this is a great way to sort of vet the people that are putting most of their attention to, what is being made here. And those are the people that should be rewarded as well.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Oh, the happy outcome of making White Rabbit is, I guess you got the attention of the Bruce Lee family, right? I think Shannon Lee, who's the daughter of Bruce Lee, is heavily involved in helping market her father's image, and I guess in licensing and things like that. And I guess she saw the White Rabbit and, I don't know, contacted you. Tell us a story. How did you get involved with the Lee family? Because it just seems so crazy how
Yeah.
all these things are falling into place for you.
Yes, I mean, I will never not be grateful. Truly, 5 years ago, I would have never thought that I would even be working with Bruce Lee's daughter. That's super crazy. I literally wore, Bruce Lee t-shirt instead of a dress like every other girl to my college graduation because
Nice.
I was a huge fan, obviously. Well, so what happened there was there is a collector on Twitter. He's quite well known. His handle is Art on Internet. And so he has been doing, or they've been doing these sort of like profiles on creators and artists. And then so they were going to do one on People Pleaser, where they kind of, have a film crew come and interview you, and, you sort of talk about your work. And obviously, I took the opportunity to talk about White Rabbit because that's what I was working on at the time and what I found most interesting. And then, the film crew that was filming this piece is called Black Buddha, which is owned by Dennis, who is basically Shannon's sort of right-hand man with the Bruce Lee estate. And so I think through that production, he got to learn about what we're doing with White Rabbit and Shibuya. And then he thought that it was interesting to share with Shannon. And then I think Shannon had this idea for a Bruce Lee anime for a while now, especially the one for House of Lee. But sort of going back to what I was saying about all these hurdles that you have to jump through with trying to get something off the ground in traditional Hollywood
Right.
is just such a massive time sink and a pain. And whether you have to give up a bunch of creative control of the project, it's just nothing ever sort of felt right to her, especially because this is such an important story for her to tell. And so I think they immediately became fascinated with the way that Shibuya is doing things. I mean, look, all of this is a giant experiment, right? So we're so grateful that they're even so open-minded to be willing to try this out with us. But of course, upon hearing, so that's how, the first point of contact was made is then when I got on a call with Shannon and I heard her pitch for the House of Lee, I think really the aspects that resonated with me the most were how much she wanted to focus on the more spiritual aspects of this, and talking about fighting our inner demons and overcoming hardships in life, and really kind of educating a lot of Bruce's philosophies to a younger generation. And I found that to be so cool and so refreshing. I think a lot of my personal favorite animated series, like from BoJack Horseman or The Midnight Gospel, are even like live action, like from Beef to White Lotus. I feel like are all of them are very, very focused on sort of either social commentary or like the inner world, like how human psychology works, and like working on yourself and what does it mean to find peace and things like that. And so that I think was super duper exciting for me, and immediately drew me to this IP. And I was like, yeah, let's create this together and see where it goes. And then so we first started chatting in October of last year, and then in April of this year we launched an open edition um, for House of Lee, which was I think very successful. And obviously much thanks to the meme land community. We know that we have a lot of supporters there as well. And so then after that, we sort of were able to again create this foundation to really begin the production of this anime that we had sought out to make. And we were sort of radio silent for a few months after the open edition, but that was intentional because we were really putting so much work into making this trailer the way that we wanted it to be, so that we timed it with the 50th anniversary of Enter the Dragon re-release, so that when we presented it to the world, it was sort of like this very well-timed, exciting moment, that it would have all this momentum, which I think was a success because, I've been lurking online as well. It's crazy. Like if you just Google House of Lee, it's all over the place, and the
Yeah.
comments from people are amazing, and it's just exciting to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think Bruce Lee has a lot of fans in the world. And I was preparing for this interview. I was looking, Bruce Lee never had a cartoon. Chuck Norris has a cartoon. Jackie Chan has a cartoon, but there's no Bruce Lee cartoon. And I think everybody, I don't care where you live, everybody loves Bruce Lee. So it's very interesting. Let's talk about the NFT a little bit because it was interesting. I heard about it from, going to the different NFT websites. And basically, open edition, and the price point to get in was very, very low. And the artwork was, I think it's like a cell, and it's signed by everybody, so it looks pretty cool. It doesn't have that, one of one kind of thing that PFPs have. So I just want to know a little bit like, how do you talk somebody like the Bruce Lee estate? Hey, we're going to do an NFT, and we're going to raise some money off of this. Just kind of a build it, and it was like your entry into the world of House of Lee, right? Nobody knows what this is or anything like that. So you're just basically playing on the fact that the Bruce Lee estate has authorized it, and also there's a lot of Bruce Lee fans looking to buy some new collectible, right? Talk a little bit about how you were thinking about that. Is it like a marketing thing, or is it actually going to access? Or I don't know if you can say this right yet, but will we be watching and voting on stuff like we do White Rabbit?
Well, I think yes, we definitely have, a lot of plans in place for how these tokens are going to play into the ecosystem. If you see, even with on the IPs on Shibuya, we have three now. There's White Rabbit, there's Dominion X, and there's House of Lee. With White Rabbit and Dominion X, I think each had their own sort of like unique way in which that users can use their tokens to sort of interact with the IP. And then so I can't disclose too many details yet about this, obviously, but our community can rest assured, and hopefully this has been demonstrated, through the precedence of White Rabbit and also Dominion X, that your tokens will definitely be able to shape or have, let's just say that your opinions will be weighted, should you have one, and they take the form of tokens. And beyond that, I think obviously our community, we're so grateful for their support. And then so we have an exciting raffle coming up shortly as well for people who do hold the tokens. And definitely some exciting things coming for dragon holders. Those of you that are one, you will know who you are or what we're referring to when we say dragon holders. And so hopefully this gives, like a little bit of a tease, but not spoiling too much. But I think Shibuya is here to stay. We've always sort of like when we said we'll do something, we always try to do it the best that we can. And, hopefully this has been demonstrated with past projects. So just stay tuned.
Okay. Great.
Awesome.
Okay. And so how about the show? Is it going to be an internet show? Is it going to be on TV? Like what's the plan there?
I think that these are also details that we're not able to disclose yet,
Damn,
but
okay.
obviously
Okay.
it will be on Shibuya. That will, it is a Shibuya project. So, if you follow closely on our website, then you will definitely be able to get access to the content. We believe in sort of making content available for people to see as much as possible. And but whether it's going to have like distribution beyond that, we are not ready to disclose.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go on that one. We'll definitely talk about it next year when the episodes are done. I am very excited about it. I think it looks fantastic what you've showed so far. So I'm definitely looking into it and excited to see what else you can do. And all the listeners, I already tried to get her to show some other artwork she hasn't showed yet. She said she's not going to show anything yet. So don't worry. I've tried my best. We'll have to wait like everybody else to get more out of it. All right. Let's shift the conversation over to the business side since you're talking about that now a little bit. You raised some money from high-profile VCs like A16Z. How is that coming along? Is that something you raised it? So just I don't know when you raised it, but I guess it's just a little bit before the bear market started this year. Is that helping you now? Is it hindering you? Is it like a safety net as you go forward? You don't have to sell more NFTs all the time to raise funding for some of the projects. Like how did that come about? Because I know also you have amazing angel investors as well, but raising a full round from a very, very prominent VC, is that helping you get more deals, helping you build more trust with people? Like talk a little bit about that.
For sure. I've been so lucky to have the support of, I would say, so many people within the space, even VCs that are whether in or not in our round. Obviously, the folks at A16Z, I think, had been supportive of me and watching me for a really long time, ever since my Uniswap NFT actually, and same with Lee Jin and the people over at Variant, and obviously all of the amazing angel investors. So this sounds like a weird flex kind of, but it was definitely when the bear market, we actually raised right after like everything crashed. So it was not the most ideal time to raise, but I think I was lucky enough to already have also a precedence of work and notoriety in the space. And then so when sort of the bear market happened, I wanted to make sure that we have sort of that safety cushion to be able to continue building throughout a bear market. We didn't know how long it was going to last.
Right.
And the funds raised are mainly for developing on the Shibuya platform, whereas most of the NFT sales go directly towards production of the IPs. And so we have 6 full-time staff members right now, and we're looking to hire as well. So if you guys, or if the community, anybody knows any good COO or chief of staffs, we would please email us. We would love to hear from you. There's just like a lot of exciting aspects about building a company that I am new to, but I was truly very lucky that when I sort of just kind of put feelers out there saying, I'm thinking about raising money for Shibuya, all the VCs are super excited about it, and very on board to support, which I am will always be grateful for. So
okay, let's go back to go ahead, Claire.
You mentioned hiring. Like what sort of skill set are you looking for?
Like looking for a new job.
What kind of personality or what kind of skill set are you looking at?
I think at Shibuya, we are all very, very open-minded people, obviously people who are willing to experiment. And I think willing to take risks, which I think there's definitely a lot of crossover for that just in the Web3 space in general. We believe in people who like wear multiple hats. So I think skill set aside, the most important thing is that you have to be really passionate about the mission, and doing something creative, and what we want to activate for people who are independent creators and storytellers. We're looking for people who are just like really on board with that mission, and then people who are just like very passionate, and even when they're pooping or whatever it is, they're thinking about how can I take Shibuya to the next steps, or just how can I be on board with Shibuya and trying to transform this really, really messed up industry that is Hollywood today, are all people that we're looking for. And, even if you're young, not super experienced, but if you're ambitious and you're very smart, I think crypto has shown that regardless of age or experience,
Right.
you can have a canvas to build your own empire as long as you are willing to learn and you're, just like on your toes and clever and, constantly absorbing.
Yeah. I went to your website to look at the careers page, and I was quite amazed at this listing here. I don't know if this job is still available, but you're looking for a lead designer. You've got a competitive salary and equity compensation. Wow. You get a home office budget. You get a health and wellness stipend. You get comprehensive benefits package covering 100% medical, dental, vision, unlimited paid time off, and team offsites through the year. Is this normal? This is not normal for the visual effects industry, I'm 100% sure. So this is definitely something that you guys, your team put this together. Talk a little bit about, how important this part is to finding the right team members to join you.
I think that sort of echoing on the points that I said before, when you're really passionate or enthusiastic about building something, then you don't need to have like regular work hours, or I think when you come across a problem, you'll just do everything that you can to solve it. And we have like I think trust within the company culture is really big for us, and so we really are not trying to micromanage anybody's time. And I think that when people work, it's because they really want to, and they're all they don't even see it as work, really. I mean, certainly myself and most of our team members don't. Shout out to Austin, our amazing community manager, who has one of the best attitudes that I've ever worked with, and how hardworking he is, and just how on board he is about everything Shibuya is something that we love to see in our employees.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Can we go back to the Shibuya platform a little bit? And because it sounds a little bit like a Kickstarter, right? In terms of like you're helping people to like get funding and stuff like that. But I'm sure it's a lot more, right? Kickstarter basically allows you to like put a project on there, has a template, and then allows you to collect money and email people out. But what is the stack that you guys are offering at Shibuya, right? Is it helping people to launch NFTs? Is it any all helping people do animation, things like that? What is somebody who would want to get involved with Shibuya like looking like you're going to offer them that is something like besides just getting them an animation, maybe getting an animation deal and helping them network those projects?
We really sort of do everything, right? From coming up with a strategy of how to get your project off the ground to building the tech that's required for interactivity. Right now, it's definitely a very sort of white glove service. Like I said, with each of our IPs, from White Rabbit to Dominion X to House of Lee, they're all going to be, slightly different in the way that they interact with the audiences. And then these are all things that we help with. And we also help, manage communities on Discord. We also help with, things like guerrilla marketing and just coming up with ways to really get your IP in front of, as many eyeballs, but also investors or, necessary people possible. And on top of that, obviously the, expertise that we have specifically with filmmaking and, an animation background are super important. And but I would say right now, we don't have the bandwidth to be taking on too many IPs, because we're really sort of focused on quality over quantity. And so, we would love to hear from people if they have, specific ideas or projects that they would love to get off the ground. But it's definitely not like a open floodgates for everybody and to upload kind of situation right now.
That's good. That's good. Another question I have, I know Ray will probably ask you this question, is about communities, right? Your community is different, whereas your guys are not really, I guess, dictated to what you do based on your floor price, like a lot of these other communities are, right? I'm sure we know what's going on out there. It's crazy out there. How do you? So the people who are in the discords, in the Shibuya discords, they must really just be there because they're very excited about what you're building. And I'm sure you've been in other discords where they're always asking about why is the NFT going down? Can you talk to us like a little bit of like how does that, like how do you cultivate that community, that kind of community in this kind of thing? Because most people think NFTs and stuff like that equate to making money, but yours is much more creative, and I feel like it seems like a more calm place, because I've been in Discord and people seem to, they definitely seem a lot more normal in there than some of these other ones, right? So maybe talk a little bit about that, like your community specifically.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, really to this day, I feel so lucky that we have our community. I haven't poked my head in too many other discords, but I do genuinely hear this all the time. Is like they're like, "Oh my God, the Shibuya Discord is like so wholesome," or the community here is so like nice and awesome and like normal and not constantly asking about floor price and stuff. And I think that partially this is thanks to the fact that when as soon as we launched, as you can see on our Twitter page, we made it in all caps very clear we are not a PFP project. And I think we sort of tried to emphasize as much as possible from the very beginning, even to doing like the ERC 1155, so that it's just very crystal clear that this is not meant to be a speculative asset. And that our true mission here is sort of storytelling and also trying to transform this industry. And I think that kind of message resonates with a lot of creatives and like artists, those types of people who are sort of joining our Discord. And so we just have like a really loyal community of people who are just genuinely on board with what we're building and curious to see where it goes. And I think that it's just kind of being resilient too. There's always going to be those few people that are like, what is this? Why is my floor price not like 10x or whatever? And just kind of, being able to believe in what you're building and not pandering to that, and staying true to your mission, I think is really important. I think a lot of founders, especially within the Web3 space, probably, it's hard not to get affected by that or feel like, oh, now I need to do this because people are complaining about this. And always going back to asking yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? And what is it that I want to achieve here? And then I think staying true to that is really important. So shout out to, obviously the really amazing people that have been so loyal since the beginning in our community. We, now start working with some of them too, because, there's like some of the fan art that they submit, there's this super duper amazing artist named Junka who has been part of our community from the beginning. And now she draws a bunch of art for, White Rabbit and Shibuya in general, because she's so talented. And, like Peem, who makes many like amazing memes for us. Other members like Cassini or Jim, and, there's just so many great members out there that we're just like so grateful for.
That's amazing. All right, let's do the founder. Let's bring up Ray Chan.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, good morning. Finally, Emily.
Hi. I love your tagline.
Yes, I copied it from your Twitter profile. Yours is like high quality meme generator, and for us, right, because of my Nugget background, of course, we are like low quality meme generator. Okay. I think first question for me is why Shibuya, right? I know this is like a city in Japan, right? But why Shibuya?
That's a great question. It was actually because, we've always wanted to be more of like a content platform. And then the original concept stemmed from the idea of being in Times Square, where there's so many different screens, and then all this different content playing at once, and there's high human traffic in the area, but obviously Times Square is super boomer, and then so we thought, what is sort of like a cooler version of that is Tokyo's version of Times Square, which is Shibuya Crossing, and so that's how we got our name.
I see. I think Shibuya is also very boomer for Japanese. Yeah, it's just that it's cool for outsiders. Right?
Yeah,
Jokes,
for sure.
Yeah, jokes aside, right? I think when you have the idea of Shibuya, right, what's the hardest part that what's the thing that you didn't expect, right? But turns out this is like interesting or game changing for you after you've been building it for 2 years, right? Almost, yeah.
There's so many aspects. I mean, we're running into challenges constantly. I think the US SEC being the biggest pain, I'm sure for a bunch of other builders in the space too, but this is not what we're doing currently, but in a world where there are less ridiculous regulations, let's say. I don't know if this is going to like come back and bite me in the ass, but obviously we believe in a future vision where we're democratizing this process of being a producer, because I feel like right now, at least if you guys have ever seen Mulholland Drive, it's one of my favorite movies. They have this scene where it's just like a man like sitting in a back room, and then he's like making all the decisions, and then they're sort of like pocketing all the money, and it's exaggerated, but that really is sort of how a lot of the way that Hollywood works today. And I feel like there's just so much more value that could be brought out from not just engaging the opinions of people, but also rewarding them for taste making and being a part of cool IPs from the very, very beginning. And so that's something that we, believe in strongly and strive for, every day, and also work with our investors closely to see, how, every day we can get closer to that ultimate vision of sharing this pie with, the community.
Yeah, I think I've been listening to this interview, right? And I heard that you mentioned quite a lot of time. Okay, it's almost like Shibuya exists, right? Just to kind of like bring some new ideas, right? Or disrupting the existing Hollywood, right? The traditional practice where it's kind of like black box, and then the big movie studios, right? They have all the power and stuff, right? Is it because from your personal experience where you get kind of like extorted at all those big company, or what, or it's like you feel like because of Web3 you understand the power of the community, and that's why you believe that you can build with them, and what exactly is like your I would say your focus on the animation, on the I would say democratized animation creating process.
I think that it's all of the above that you mentioned. Definitely my history and working in visual effects and being, like you said, extorted by the machine has a lot to do with the motivation for change. I think the same goes for my partner Mache as well. He has gone through the same thing, and we see the problems. I mean, it's unironically so obvious now with everything, all the strikes that are going on in Hollywood. It just shows that the system is just so unsatisfactory for all of the people that work so hard to make these things happen, that a reform really is inevitable, I think. And so it's a great time to sort of be experimenting and trying to disrupt like the way that we are. And at the same time, like you said, through Web3, we got a taste of really believing that this technology is revolutionary and sort of opening up not just the power of the community, but also how important provenance is when it comes to filmmaking and tastemaking. I mean, this all really stems back to the kind of concept that people with like IPs or fandom are like, oh, well, I was the original, Dragon Ball Z fan, but how do you prove that, right? And, obviously with on-time provenance, it's a no-brainer. And I think that people want to flex these kinds of like participations that, they've been part of something since the beginning, which seems so natural to transition into an industry like film. And so I feel like there's, just like sort of all these aspects that come together. That's not to say, it's always been smooth sailing. It's obviously a huge daunting task that we're taking on, and there's challenges every day, but at least I'm giving myself a purpose, right?
How do you, I mean, in Web3, right, I think it's almost like building in public, right? I think there are, I mean, whatever, no matter how wholesome your community is, right, there are always some people, right? They are very impatient, right? And they were always asking, okay, what's next, right? And then they expect a huge financial return in a very short period of time, right? I mean, as a builder in the space or an artist in the space for some time, right, how do you kind of like counter all this kind of so-called pressure, right, when you have to still continue to deliver what you want to deliver?
I think the really big one, which Michelle and I can both attest to, is just not compromising the quality of your output for any kind of impatience, whether from yourself or from the community. And that's sort of I think it's just when we look at it, we're like, do we like it? Is this something that we would be proud to put out, regardless of any kind of outside opinion? And then we sort of really only do that when um, we can answer yes to that question. And this goes beyond just the animation quality itself, but when we're trying to line something up like an announcement or marketing, I think it sort of bleeds into sort of every aspect of that. Hence why it took kind of like this long for us to really announce the House of Lee. We were really waiting, not just nailing the trailer and making it look amazing, but also nailing that, timing and sort of like the impact. And I think that it's been great. Like it seems that the IP has truly crossed the chasm now. It's in the zeitgeist now, and so we're off to a good start.
Yep, I think definitely the end product, right, looks great, right? That's why people have more faith, right? I think as you mentioned in the beginning of this show, right, you mentioned that, okay, because of your there's precedence, right? Because of your previous work, right? Somehow people have more faith and believe in you. That's why they support you, right, along the way, right? But I think it's also very important that for any, I would say, listener to this show, it's almost like you have to be kind of awesome, right, before the luck finds you, right? Because at the end of the day, if you suck, right, no matter how lucky you are, you still suck, right? So I think that part is quite important, right? And as an artist, I would say kind of like an OG artist, right, in the NFT space right now, right? For example, like the House of Leaves, you use open edition, right, to kind of like through the minting process, right? Do you think open edition is something here to stay, or what do you think about, okay, how to apply like NFT into art, into animation, into other form of like media?
I think, beyond the sort of provenance that we were talking about, which I feel like is to us really important. I I'm not sure that, open editions are forever going to be a thing. I mean, nobody is even sure that, NFTs will forever be a thing, right? Like our world is ever changing, and I think it's more about understanding at least the underlying technology or why it should work. Definitely, when we launched the open edition, it was partially an opportunistic thing too, because there had been that sort of open edition wave. I think that there's something, quite interesting to be said about these just like different models that, I think about open edition really as more of like it's like a temporary pop-up shop, like a digital online pop-up shop. You're just like, oh, I'm setting up shop. It's open for 2 days. And then, for these 2 days, you can come and buy our merch. And then we're going to close up shop. And then so there's for sure going to be use cases for this in the future. I think, wider adoption means that gas fees probably have to definitely go down, which I think we're seeing now with the expansion or, L2s gaining more popularity. But obviously our amazing partner at Manifold, who helped us with activating fiat like credit card payments. Like when we did the House of Lee sale, you can literally just you open it on a mobile browser and then pay with Apple Pay. I think was also instrumental in helping us sell to a wider audience beyond just Web3. So all of these things need to happen in tandem for wider adoption to happen.
Yep, got it. Yeah, and And talking about House of Lee, right? And yeah, of course, we know what it is, right? As a fan of Bruce Lee, right? And
I
then
mean,
me
well,
also
first,
supports it.
obviously, I just want to thank you for being literally our number one dragon holder. We
No,
have
I
something
just checked yesterday.
exciting
It's
in
not, we
store
are not
for
number one anymore, right?
you.
There's
Oh,
another guy who got like 1,400 of them, right? We got like 1127, right? It's like a paid homage to Bruce Lee's birthday, right? But right now there's like 1,400 of them. I mean, I think this is like very, very funny to me, right? Because when we bought that exact amount, right, it took us some work, right? Because there's like a cap of each min, and then you can only min like 100 of them, right? That's why we have to create like 12 wallets, right? And then just to min that exact number, right? And some people don't understand, oh, why 1127? And then I was like, then you are not a fan of Bruce Lee. Yeah. So it's kind of funny, right? I think the whole idea of where there's a leaderboard, right, to show the name and also the kind of like the ranking of the supporters, right? I think that part is actually very, very interesting, right? Because it's almost like we are building a social file, right? So we have the same idea, right? But not just for a project, for a campaign, but more like for every artist, right? For every creator on our platform, right? Because at the end of the day, nowadays, how can you tell who's the number one fan of people pleaser, right? You can't, right? No, before NFT you can't, right? But with NFT you can, right? Because you can show that, oh, the guy who owned the most NFT, right? Probably he or she is the biggest fan. I think this kind of I would say innovation is not possible before Web3, right? But right now it's okay, right? And you mentioned quite a few times that provenance is very important, and I think this part is exactly the showcase of that, right? So for you as a creator of the project, right, what is the part that you like it the most so far, right? For House of Lee.
Well, I think that it's super exciting that I get to have this much say over, sort of like the artistic direction. And Miche and I are mega fans of the golden age of anime, which we regard, and I think many others too, as the era of like 80s and 90s. And I think that modern anime is cool, but it's just like visually, it's a totally different style. And then so something that is exciting to me is that we have this opportunity and such a big like stage to sort of reactivate this style of anime that has almost been forgotten, or at least just not been done since, is I think the most exciting aspect for me, obviously, beyond the sort of narrative side of storytelling and doing the spiritual inner work kind of explorations. And I was super excited when I was reading all of the comments on like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube about people genuinely being excited about this retro 90s style that they're picking up on. So yeah, I think that's the part that I'm most excited about.
Yep.
Let's
And
before you continue, let's bring. I forgot to play it, but let's bring it up so we can talk about it while she's here.
Sure.
Dude,
so
that's
cool.
amazing.
So cool.
Oh, a huge shout out to Paris, who made the amazing track and score for the trailer. And also, if you listen carefully, there's like some punching, like the beats are actually like sounds of punching bags, and then there's some gong references in there as well. And then obviously, huge shout out to Funkel, who is the lead artist on the trailer animation. So thank you guys for working on it.
What is the story about? Can you? I know there's a log line out there already, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I can't say too much about the story. So pretty much everything you can read online is, what it is, but it is going to be like a sort of action fantasy series. So it's going to involve, the real world but also the spiritual realm. And like we talked about so much, it's going to be talking about like, fighting, light and darkness and yin and yang, like kind of like these concepts, and also exploring, inner demons and overcoming, like trauma, hardships, things like that. And last but not least, obviously based on the Lee family and part of, a lot of Shannon's like personal experiences or memories and stories that she is so excited to tell.
Yeah, and I think if we zoom out, right, I think looking at the space right now, because of the technology, because of I would say that the funding model of Web3, right, I think there are more and more artists joining the space, at least a year ago, right, and right now not that many, right, but still, right, a lot, right, comparing to before, right. What do you think is the requirement, right, for an artist to actually make it work in Web3? Right, because I just had a call with people 2 days ago, right, and then Micah has shared some of his view, right, towards the space right now with us. And but what do you think, right, as an artist, right, how to kind of like make it in the Web3, right? Because okay, anyone can claim that they're artists, right? People are drawing so many like fan art and stuff like that, and generative art, right, is like a huge category. And but as an artist yourself, right, before Web3 happens, right, how do you think that, or why do you think that you make it in Web3?
I think that it's definitely a combination of being opportunistic. So, knowing to spot, when an opportunity is coming and, sort of striking at the right time is very important. That is not a coincidence. I had definitely sort of, been in DeFi, also, watching NFTs, but, as sort of like this, I would say the tsunami wave was forming, I understood, what was happening, and I really tried hard to position myself so that I could also catch this wave. But, before that comes, I think is many years of hard work. Obviously, I think that all of the years that I had spent working in visual effects and within Hollywood, although, I was never got to realize that dream of working on my own creative visions, I was always, working for someone else. And, being an artist and creator, I think that everyone's dream is to ultimately make your own visions. But those years were so necessary for me to just learn the technical skills required to even convey yourself as an artist. I think that a lot of times now people are so impatient, or, that like sometimes they forget the importance that you still, at least when you have an idea, you to sort of target that idea and represent it with precision, you need to have skill. That skill is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it's just going to be happy accidents that you're presenting as artwork, which can work too. But, I think that with that kind of preparation, it just positions you a lot better. So for example, now when I'm saying I want to make something in retro, 90s anime style, through, like people like Michelle too, with all this experience and, being very observant and knowing what to observe and what to replicate, or, what to do when it comes to creating that kind of style is so important, and something that takes years of experience to build up to.
No,
And obviously luck is important.
Yeah, I think all the smart people that I talk to, right, they always say that luck is also important, right? Only the stupid people that I talk to think that, okay, the only reason that they can win is because themselves, right? I think when people are good enough, right, they understand that they understand the importance of humility, right, on one hand, but also understand that, okay, you can be really good, but sometimes, right, when your luck is bad, you still can't make it, right? At least not at that period of time, right? So I think that part is also very important, right? But talking about artists, right, what are some of the interesting artists in the space that you think, okay, people should pay more attention to them, right? Because I mean, right now I know that you're focusing your time on Shibuya, right? But also as an artist yourself, who are the up and coming artists that you think, okay, that guy is interesting, right? I'm not saying that, okay, the work will go up in price, right? But the work that they're doing is interesting. Are there some names that you can recommend us?
I have to admit I've been sort of really out of touch with the space for a while now. I will say that obviously I want to shell Junka. Her handle is like @JUN and then period underscore 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 period KA. She is an amazing, super duper talented illustrator that has just been sort of part of the Shibuya journey. Or, you know, she was like a fan initially, and then we discovered her through her fan art. And so she definitely deserves a shout out. And whether you're in the space and you want to commission her for something, please do. She's so, you know, so lovely and awesome and talented. But I think that nowadays I'm sort of more interested in people who are doing things that you know, are more interactive with their NFTs. I know that Mitchell Chan just released a collection that where I think it's like 999 like baseball player characters, and then it you know, it takes the form where you can actually interact with that NFT, which is a character. And you know, there's like different, it comes with like different stats, but then you can like train it and sort of have it, you know, move up the ranks in like a league. I feel like that's something that I came across recently that is pretty cool and novel. But beyond that, you know, I am a visual person at the end of the day. So I think I just like art that, you know, looks dope. And I mean, you know, there's like some artists that deserve like a shout out. Obviously, CHO, the Taiwanese artist, is one of them. I had one of his NFTs for a long time as my PFP. And I think Dead Seagull is one that I shout out often too, because her style is like really cool. But yeah, I think it's more about just looking at, you know, what people are doing with even just like how they think about on-chain interactions as a medium, or, you know, in addition to their art. And a lot of the creators, you know, for example, that are minting on Manifold, I think that you can see them doing that, and it's been pretty cool to see. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we are running out of time, right? So I have only two more questions, right? Number one is how much time are you still spending on creating art, right now, when you have started your company, right? Because you have to deal with all the headache, right, and administration and people and stuff like that, right? How many hours or how much time you are still creating art these days? Yeah.
You know, it really depends. I mean, obviously, when we were working on the House of Lee trailer, I was very, you know, closely involved in the process, and you know, drawing at times too. Definitely, you know, doing animation for it. But I would say when there's not like or you know, obviously like when we do the Linkin Park music video too, but when there's not a project happening, sadly, I kind of don't have that much time to just be like drawing for fun anymore. Which yeah, is something that I really miss about, you know, my period of unemployment, where my only purpose in life was to make art, and I didn't even know for who to see, or you know, for what purpose other than just to express myself. So I miss that, and I hope that I'll get to do it more after Shibuya has been sort of built up more.
Yeah, and missing the unemployment moment sounds like a very weird flex to me. Yeah, but I think this is a good thing, right? I think at the end of the day, right? I think for artists or creators, you actually have to leave some room for yourself, right? To think, right? To create your work. Otherwise, I think we would just get overflooded by all the unimportant things in our life, and then we just don't have time to do the things that we love, right? I think that part is actually it's very true, right? So last questions, right? I have to ask, right? At Memeland, we have something called Smart PFP, where we invite artists, right, to help us to create a trait for our character, for the avatar, right? Can we invite you to be one of our artists, right, to help us to design some traits, or even help us to design some Bruce Lee traits and stuff like that?
Of course. I mean, definitely. Let's connect, you know, after this or something.
Yep.
To follow
Yeah, I mean, I know that you can't say no on spot. Yeah, that's why I asked, yeah, so that we can have a record. Yeah,
No,
this is the importance of provenance. Yeah,
I'll
yeah, you
call
can
my
show it
manager later to tell her to say no after. No, I'm kidding. But no,
That's
that
also
sounds
cool,
that
yeah.
sounds really cool. I'm actually interested. So yes, let's follow that thread.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Casey.
Wow, amazing. All right, Emily, thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing to talk to you and learn more about Shibuya and House of Lee. Of course, we're all big fans. That's no question about it. And we'll definitely have you back on. Hopefully, we'll have you back on when the show gets closer to being finalized. So we can watch it. We should do a watch party with our community as well.
Yeah, that would be
And
awesome. Thank you guys for having me on. And, Ray, it's so nice to meet you finally. I obviously, my dream in high school was to become a Nang Gag meme influencer. So
Ooh,
one day we can make that happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think your dream is like a broken dream, because right now you have helping people to create dreams. I think that part is even more important. Yeah. By the way, when I say this out loud, I sounds like a sim. Yeah, but anyway, I think it's great to meet Emily right here, and then to learn more about House of Lee, to learn more about Shibuya. Yeah, I think I'm really grateful to have a GM show as a platform to bring more spotlight to creators, right, in the space, instead of just focusing on the floor price. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
thank you.
thank
awesome.
you.
Okay, see you, Emily.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, that's great.
Hey.
Go ahead, Karen.
No, I mean it's just been interesting to hear like a real artist and like how they basically come into this like Web3 side of the world, and they all bring like interesting stories.
Yeah, I think when you say real artist, you will piss off a lot of people. This is politically incorrect to say that real artist, right? I think everyone is an artist. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, real artist. Yeah, yeah. I mean, jokes aside, right? I think it's a weird combination in a way, right? Because I think artists, it's almost like it's really hard for them to take opinion, right? To take input from other people, right? That's why when you look at Emily, when you look at Shibuya, I think the whole concept is almost like kind of like flipping the table in a way that can we allow the community to kind of like be part of the creating
Yeah.
process, right? I think that is actually very cool. Yeah.
Definitely.
Ray, you're a huge Bruce Lee fan. I asked Karen at the beginning, what is your earliest memory of Bruce Lee that you know so much about him and you're willing to just like degen into this project you don't even know what it is?
I mean, of course, I know. I mean, degening, not degen, right? I think supporting House of Lee is actually not very degen, right? Because you know that this is not for money, right? This is like to support the culture, right? To support something that you love, which is actually the part that is missing the most in the current NFT space. It's almost like, okay, people only buy it for the return, right? But the thing is, the return should not be just monetary return, right? It can be, or you feel like you're part of something bigger. You help to push the envelope, right? And also you help to help great artists, right, to realize their dream. I think all these kind of things, I think people kind of like ignore that when money is involved, right? I think that part is actually something that is not very degen for us. And of course, for us, it's very straightforward. I'm from Hong Kong. Bruce Lee, of course, he was born in San Francisco, right? But somehow he's like very connected to Hong Kong as well.
Yeah.
And of course, when we look at the Shibuya team and one of the co-founders, actually one of our ex-teammate at Nigel, Jackie, right? So it's almost like I know Shibuya before House of Lee, right? So supporting them is actually a no-brainer for us. And of course, we also understand that, okay, we are not just building Memeland as our own NFT project, right? We want to support the great builders in the space in Web3. That's why we are always very supportive of good projects, right, in the space. I mean, other than Bored Ape, other than Shibuya, right? I think we also hold quite a lot of NFTs of other projects, right? It's, on one hand, it's like, of course, it's marketing, right? Because that's the best way to get their community's attention, right? But on the other hand, it's almost like a signal that we send to the whole Web3 space. Okay, we are here to build together, right? I think that together part is something that people miss in this space, right? It's always almost about PvP and stuff like that, which is kind of like make me sick in a way, right? That's why for that part, it's not very degen, right? But I think back to your questions, what's the first moment? I don't know. I think as a kid in Hong Kong, I think it's always kind of like, okay, how to use the nunchuck, right? Yeah, and then something like that, right? I think those are like, you don't even remember when you learned that or where you learned that, right? But basically, it's like part of the culture, right? And when you grow older, right, you read Bruce like videos and also books, right? You understand that he's not just a martial artist, right? He's also a philosopher, right? I mean, Be Water, my friend, is almost like so deep that it's so deep, right? I think as a company, right, you also have to be water, right? On one hand, you have to be very flexible, right, and adopt to the shape, right? But on the other hand, you never forgot who you are, right? I think that's very very interesting. Right? And of course, right now, when I talk to when I try to introduce myself, I try to copy Bruce like introduction. And my name is Chen, Ray Chen, something like that, right? I think that makes me cooler. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. All
Well,
right, thanks.
now we're anticipating some Bruce Lee traits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody wants to see the Bruce Lee trade.
Yeah,
That's
I think
awesome.
that part is also we try to create. No, but we can't do that right now, right? Because whenever we kind of like talk about things that we want to do, then people think that we are hyping up the floor price, and then they will super hype themselves, and then they get disappointed, right? So right now it's almost like we have to change the way that we communicate. It's almost like we always have to tell people that okay, we suck, right? And then we suck, and then we suck, and then we just release something when it's ready. It's almost like we have to adopt. This is another kind of be water.
Managing expectations.
Yeah, managing expectation is like a ever changing and challenging task. Yeah. So I think, but at the end of the day, I think it's great to talk to Emily, right? So that we can ask her on spot, okay, whether we can have some a people pleaser trait and also some Bruce Lee traits. I think all these things can be very, very interesting down the road, because ultimately, when you look at like House of Lee, right, the interesting part is not just okay, just another Web3 artist creating some Web3 stuff, right? But it's almost like merging the existing culture and brand together, right? And using a new kind of a method or new kind of like medium, right, to create a new form of art, right? And I think that's the part where Web3 can actually change the world. Right? I think right now when we talk to people, right, we almost always say that okay, we are not trying to onboard millions to Web3. Right? We should be bringing Web3 to millions or even billions of people and tell them how awesome this is, right? In not just for the money, right, but also for the provenance, right, for the culture, right, for the creating process. And I think House of Lee is an example of that. And Emily and her team is trying to do that in the animation space, in the movie, in the Hollywood space, right? For us, it's almost like we are building the same stuff, right? But our spectrum is more on social media. So that's why all her what she mentioned just now, I think it resonates a lot with us, with what we are building, right? Because it's not like the current way, it's not like the new way of good or bad, right? It's just that the current way just simply doesn't work, right? It's after, I mean, Hollywood is great, right? They create so many things, right? Social media is great. They create so many things, right? But after some time, because of the I would say centralization of the power, right? It just corrupts the system. And right now with Web3, there's a chance for us to kind of like rethink the whole model. And we are here to experiment. And I think that part is actually very, very important. Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Well put. Well
Great.
put. Very good. All right. Thanks, Ray. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
That was
before
great,
we
right?
go,
Did
yeah,
you like that? I think
Yeah.
that's very interesting, right?
that's very interesting. It's very inspiring. Before we go, we want to shout out to all the returning listeners.
Ooh.
So people who have been like over 10 of our spaces, over 10 spaces. So that's a lot. Like we're on like our 15th
15th,
episode.
yeah, so more than
so
half. Amazing.
Thank you for supporting. So there's Tino Chen, there's Obashore, and Mien, and Yoda Fett Kenobi. So thank you so much for attending more spaces, and there are more spaces to come.
We also know when how long they listen and when they leave. So
Yeah,
make sure you guys listen to the show. We're watching you. We're watching
we're
you when
spying
you're
on
leaving.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen, thanks again for co-hosting the show with me. I think it's great. Thanks a lot to People Pleaser for coming on the show. I'm very excited about what she's building. And I think a lot of people will be, and I think Ray's excited too. So that's great.
Yeah, we're big fans.
Next week, you can find out who the guest is next week. You can follow us on our Twitter at GM Show Official to find out. And again, I made a GM Show Twitter community that you can join in and see a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on. But I guess for now, that is it. We'll wrap the show there, and we'll see you next week. Let's watch the trailer one more time because it's just it's pretty cool.
That is so cool. How cool is that?
It's very cool. I think
Okay.
people think it's cool too. All right. See you next week.
See
Let's
you
have
next
this.
week.